Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, for anyone who might say that the Ukrainians are fighting the Russian invasion and they think that this was an unprovoked attack by the Russians and unjustifiable, I would like you to look at these articles that I have ready for you, where the Americans provide the Ukrainians with offensive long-range missiles to strike deep inside Russia. Now, if you think this is just the Ukrainians being helped and they have to defend themselves, yes, everyone has the right to defend themselves, not only the Ukrainians. I have here an article where Trump tells Zelensky not to strike only Moscow. Why not St. Petersburg? All this after Trump got fed up with Putin, like a professor with a student. Got fed up. I'm going to penalize you right now. But hey, I am the mediator. I'm not involved in this, but I will give weapons only to one side, but I'm neutral. You understand? So first, Trump will send Tomahawk missiles, according to news reports, to Ukraine, which they will not be operated by the Ukrainians. I guarantee you that, first. Secondly, more Patriot systems will be sent to Ukraine, which again, I don't think they will be operated by the Ukrainians. None of these weapons will be allowed to be even seen, looked at by the Ukrainians. I guarantee you that. These are the top notch of the American military. They will not allow the Ukrainians put their little claw on them. And the Americans say that they will allow the Ukrainians to use ATACMS missiles to its full range. So strike St. Petersburg, strike Moscow, and we are not at war with you. You cannot strike us back because we are not involved. The Ukrainians are defending themselves and we give them aid. Now, I told you this analogy is like that tiger, lion, tamer in the old days in the circus. When I was a kid, I used to go in, did not pay, go in as a child, got caught, beaten, try again until you succeed. And I was going to see the lions. They put a big cage, rounded cage, and have a tamer with a baboon around as well, who usually she was over there and just very much undressed, so we all kids look like freaks to how the lady looked. So this tamer with the lions had two main objects in his hands. The tamer is the United States of America. Al Capone had a long pole to poke the tiger and a long whip to hit the tigers or the lions. The tigers are China, India, United States of America. If you want Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, these are the lions. Some of them are not. Some of them, are bigger lions, smaller lions, no lions. My point is, the tamer was using other people, other nations, to hit those guys. And though those guys were clawing and bringing, sometimes the pole, grabbing it with the teeth or with the claws, or maybe the whip will pull it off, he would get another one. Like, from Ukraine is dead, get Estonia. The pole is taken, take Romania. The Romania is gone, take Georgia, take Azerbaijan, take Armenia, take Poland, take the Baltic states. They always have at their disposal more whips and more poles, all right? But they never thought, okay, leave this here, come over here, you tiger, because they knew they would get fucked. So this is the brave America. Fights the other. You can say that's smart, but if you like that kind of smartness, I think that's weaselness. In my books, you just go and say, okay, I think I can beat you up one-on-one right now. You don't want right now? Okay, when do you want to meet? Tomorrow? What time? Okay, we meet over there and we fight face to face and we decide who is really stronger. That's the way it used to be in the old days. But now you poison those guys, you fight with these kind of things, you cut their food off, their electricity, and then you're strong, but you won. Well, you can say, well, that's war. Well, war has its limits and has its character. You decide to be something like this, you're going to be recognized as something like that. You behave like this, you've been going to have attached to your name other kind of, weasel and so on. So let's look at Trump, who makes a deal like this. The American companies, and let me show you how this is portrayed. The American companies will make a deal with the taxpayers' money of Europe for Ukraine, to defend Ukraine. Here, let's start with the first article. This is from the New Voice of Ukraine. Trump announces NATO-funded arms deal for Ukraine. So it's NATO-funded. No, those are countries and people whose taxes are forcefully taken, collected by their authorities at the barrel of a gun. That's how they take the taxes. Don't pay your taxes, you're going to be arrested. By whom? By a police officer with a gun. The United States will be selling, so United States of America is selling large quantities of weapons to its NATO allies. No, it's not the United States selling. It is the private companies in charge of the United States of America sell it to these guys, to the countries in NATO that have to pay for them with their taxpayers' money to then supply to Ukraine, to Zelensky. Got it? That's why I picked this one. And as I said 2 days ago, Trump will come out and say, we make the best equipment. Who's we? The private companies, not you. The best missiles, the best everything. Didn't I say that? In a video 2 days ago when I talked about Trump's speech on Russia, address on Russia on Monday, I said he will come and say we're the best, but we don't fight the Russians. We're the best, but we don't even try to test ourselves. We test ourselves with toddlers, like Iraq, like Afghanistan, like Libya, 4 million people, like Syria, not even Syria. We didn't fight Syria. So, but we're so tough that we don't even have to get in a competition. We are world champions without getting over there in the fight. Nah, because why? We are the best, man. We are the best. We identify as. I mean, really, imagine you have a competition and someone comes and says, I'm already the world champion because I am. You say, no, come over here and go on the drawing board and we're going to fight. No, but anyway, they live in an illusion. So again, the European nations know that, okay? And we made a deal today where we are going to be sending them, NATO countries, weapons, and they are going to be paying for them. Great, great. So the US government will employ private companies. It's not the US government who makes weapons. It's the private contractors who make the weapons. Got it? So the Americans made a deal between their contractors, right? And the other guys is countries that will take the money from banks, print maybe money, and tax their citizens to get these companies fat to help Zelensky and Ukraine defend themselves. That's how the racket is. All right, that's the first one. Ukraine form. Ukraine to receive billions in US-made weapons. Not US, the state, the United States. No, it's armed companies, private. Please put that in your head, just so you know how things are. Sputnik. US's new assistance, it's assistance. Weapons is just assistance. To Ukraine could include long-range ATACMS missiles. Not they could, they will. So why is that important? Because they will allow them to strike deep inside Russia. So new supplies for Kyiv, announced by US President Donald Trump on July 14, may include long-range ATACMS missiles, according to a report by the Washington Post on Tuesday. Washington may also allow the Ukrainian armed forces to use 18 long-range ATACMS missiles that Kyiv has as part of a military assistance, the newspaper reported. Ready? That is, my friends, the first one. Second, US to sell $10 billion worth of weapons to NATO for onward delivery to Ukraine. You got it? It's not the United States of America who sells it. It's the private companies. And if it's not the private companies selling it directly, that's the way it is. The American government decided that they will use your taxes, print money, and get loans, make commands, orders, send orders to the private companies. The private companies will give us the weapons. That means they will have a profit. They will be fantastic. And we will give to the other guys. But eventually the taxpayers paid for everything. Give it to those guys give the money back. And we don't get anything. We give it to the companies. You got it? The companies make the money, not us. Oh, they employ people. Do you mean they keep them slaves? Like modern slaves? I mean, if we talk like that. And those guys are getting the money from where? They are almost bankrupt. I'm talking about the Europeans. Taxing their garbage, right? getting loans and printing money. All bad. Why? Because otherwise Putin will show up in Berlin, London, and Paris. The lie goes. All right, so that's the racket. And now we find out what the Trump administration or Trump himself will do. Ukraine form. Trump may allow Ukraine to use ATACMS missiles at their full range. Washington Post. U.S. President Donald Trump considered transferring Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine to increase pressure. That's how this is euphemism. No, to shoot towns, to kill people. But hey, if they doing it, we're doing it, we're good, right? According to the Washington Post, Trump explored the possibility of sending Tomahawk missiles. They're not going to send them. They're going to be activated and operated by the Americans. The same weapons fired against Iranian targets last month. If fired from Ukraine, this could hit Moscow and St. Petersburg, and they were included in discussions as late as Friday. However, sources say the Tomahawk are off the delivery list for now. No, the decision has been made. They just throw it over there in the public sphere, see how people react, which they're busy playing games, drinking beer, deep, and eating chips. All right? And they're going to be, okay, let's do it. It's the mountain slope model, little by little, yet for now. All right? Or not today. Could be something else tomorrow. That's the way these guys are doing. They could be deployed later if Trump wants even more leverage, pressure. Meanwhile, an informed source, unnamed, stated that Trump is prepared to authorize the use of 18 long-range ATACMS missiles now in Ukraine at their full range of 300 kilometers. 300 kilometers will not hit Moscow yet. While these missiles cannot reach Moscow or St. Petersburg, they would enable strikes on military bases, airfields, and supply depots deep inside Russia that are now out of range. The aid, it's an aid, like a band-aid, package might also include more ATACMS missiles. So what does it mean? Pole and whip. But hey, you cannot hit me, Tiger. You focus on the Ukrainians and on those guys, but I will hit you. I will destroy you with those guys. What would you do? What would you do when you understand the neighbor has nothing but manpower? That's it. And territory, that is location. Okay? Geostrategic position. What would you do when you understand that that's that guy over there who's actually in command of that country? Their generals are planning attacks on you. They use their weapons that their private contractors are making to hit you. Give it to these baboons or move here to the baboons and from the baboons location hit you. What would you do? Logically, you're going to go and knock that guy out. I mean, in any fight, when you fight more than one opponent, let's say you have 5, you try to identify the guy in charge. Always. So you have 5 guys. You have to identify who's the biggest mouth and who's the guy who's the biggest, biggest threat that you think that everybody's looking up. That's the guy you try to knock out first. Not the baboons, the lieutenants and the clowns. You don't attack them. You attack the strongest and you try to fuck him up. Because once you did that, everybody's gonna be scattering away. Because they know if you're able to do that, they have no chance. So that's why these guys should not be focused on Ukraine. Should be focused on the Americans. I'm sorry, I live in America, but these guys, what they're doing, they're threatening our existence. They are risking our whole future, our children, our grandchildren. Then no, we're bringing peace like that with aid. We put pressure. I'm not done. Wait, I have more articles here. Washington Post source, Trump considers sending Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine. There you have it. These were not operated by the Ukrainians, I tell you that. Donald Trump has considered sending Tomahawk, yet not, later this year, cruise missiles to Ukraine. They are not yet on the list. You see, the yet, today, you see, but may be included later. And again, Trump considering sending Tomahawk cruise missiles, the same weapons that were used against Iranian targets last month. If launched from Ukraine, they could hit Moscow and St. Petersburg. These are military targets, I would like to ask. Isn't that bad when the Russians attacked Kyiv? Weren't we told that it's bad, that civilians? Isn't that? When the Russians flatten positions in, Mariupol or, Bakhmut, or Artemovsk, wasn't that bad? Yes, it was bad. Why? It seems like only because the other guys did it. When we do it, like Hiroshima or Nagasaki, well, well, we shortened the war and we saved our boys' lives. You find the justification immediately. So here they mention Moscow and Petersburg. What exactly do you think these guys have in mind? Do you think they have Home Depot? Do you think they have military depots over there in Moscow and St. Petersburg? That's what you think, factories that produce ammunition? Do you think that's what they have in mind? No, that's it's going to be terror. We can hit you. You're going to have the same terror that you inflict on Kyiv. Why? Because that's called terror. But when we do it, no, it is putting pressure on you. Next one. All right, where is it? Ukraine form. Zelensky holds phone call with Trump. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky held a phone conversation with his U.S. counterpart Trump. Okay, I spoke with U.S. President Trump, a very good conversation. I'm grateful for his willingness to support Ukraine. Now he changed. Every time he speaks with Americans, he will make sure that his public relation guys told him, thank them. Thank the baboons, they will feel better about themselves. And continue working together to stop the killing and achieving a lasting and just peace. Mantra, no value. According to Zelensky, I mean, if tomorrow Russians will say, okay, we'll stop the war. Do you understand what that would mean? The next one was going to be, okay, now you need to give us reparation. Okay, now Putin has to go because now Putin has to be trialed. Now Russia has to be checked. Russia has to have inspectors. It couldn't be trusted. What if it uses nuclear weapons? Let's go and set our guys to make sure Russia will never do this again. How about we disarm Russia? Because you see, it started a war like this. This is what's going to come. Do you think this will have the lasting peace? What do you think means? Russia incapable of ever getting his eyes out or up from the ground. And the Russians, they fight for for existence, for their own existence. But these guys don't care. They're going to use whomever pole, whip they have. And when they will not have any, because they're strong, they will say, stop, let's make a deal. They will not fight. The Americans will not direct the Western countries, these big dudes. Otherwise, they would have done it. They will not directly engage the Russians. They want to use poles. But that's a mark of a weasel. Anyway, according to Zelensky, Trump briefed him on his meeting with NATO Secretary General. And I'm going to tell you what is right here. We agreed to stay in regular contact and continue coordinating. That means you provide me with the geopolitical location and your manpower, and I will continue attacking them. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, America. Fuck you. All right, let's go to the next one. Zelensky, double Y here, and I think it's only one here, isn't it? Yeah, one Y. Why is it only Y? One Y at the end? I have no idea. These are Ukrainians, remember, both of them. Speaks with Trump after his ultimatum to Russia. I made a video a minute ago about the ultimatum and the threat and the Russian response. So this is what they said. Let me go to the St. Petersburg, if this one is. I think is in the next one. Right there. Trump says Kyiv should put more pressure. Not only it's pressure. That means attack, not only on Moscow, but also on St. Petersburg. This guy. So what he says right here? U.S. President Donald Trump asked President Zelensky during their phone call why Kyiv has not struck Moscow, adding that Ukraine should exert more pressure on Putin himself, including through strikes on Russia's capital and St. Petersburg. You got it? And right here, Trump's determination to squeeze Putin was conveyed in a conversation last week with President Volodymyr Zelensky, a source has told me. All right, this is Washington Post, David Ignatius. Trump asked Zelensky why he didn't hit Moscow. And I'm quoting, "We can if you give us the weapons." Zelensky said. Trump said Ukraine needed to put more pressure on Putin, not just Moscow, but St. Petersburg too. And then you have Tomahawk missiles. They are the ones. They have Patriots, and they will allow the ATACMS at the full range. And what's going on here? Use of B-2 bombers and Tomahawk missiles against Iran. That means probably that could be used, but the Ukrainians don't have B-2 bombers. Who are going to deliver those? The F-16s are going to deliver the Tomahawks? You think so? I don't think they fit. Is it going to be a submarine? Is it going to be a vessel is going to deliver that? Or is it going to be a B-20, B-2 bombers, B-22? All right. Thank you very much, my friends. Just so you know, this is the direct war, but these guys are strong, but use everybody else to fight for them. And it's not the United States of America. It's the guys in charge of our elected representatives, our employees. Remember, our politicians are our employees. They're not our leaders. You understand that? Switch that in your brain if you didn't do it already. They are not our leaders. They represent our will. That means they are our messengers. You remember, the king sent messengers. The king employed people to take care of his problems. He employed them. That tells me the king was in charge. We supposedly are in charge. Trump is not our leader to tell us what to do. We are the ones who supposedly tell him what to do. But somehow it's the other way around. Never forget, that's the real, how should I put it, organization, business organization in America. We employ them. They are our employees that we could fire. They cannot do whatever they want for 4 years. They could be fired in 4 years, but somehow democracy did not think of that. So Trump right now for 4 years can do whatever he wants for 4 years, and you cannot fire him. You cannot fire Trump. But somehow he's doing what you employed him to do. I didn't employ him to go to war with Ukraine or continue the Ukraine war. I didn't employ him to go and give the other guys to pummel on the Palestinians. I didn't give that right. I didn't give him that authority. He does it. How can I change it? I can't change it. I can't. For 4 years he can do that against me. So it's like you hire a plumber to fix your pipe, but he starts cutting your plants, your flowers, click, click, click. And you can't do it anything because you got a contract for him to fixing the pipeline or whatever, the water hose or water pipeline pipe. Jesus Christ. This is democracy. I hate this kind of democracy, including the everybody votes. Everybody votes. You're an imbecile. You vote and you nullify the smart guy, the guy who knows something about the issue. You nullify it. That's democracy? No, I disagree with that. Only people who knows what the problem is should be allowed to vote. As I designed a way of voting, 25%, 50% of the vote, 75% of the vote. You got full vote when you pass tests of knowledge. All right, not someone says, I'm going to give you free marijuana. Okay, you got my vote. Whoa, 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 whoa. Pfft, I already nullified your vote with the baboon over there. Next. Thank you very much for being with me again today. We are at war is when the Russians snap. And I said, the sooner the Russians snap, the sooner the war ends. That's it. That's it. It's not going to be through negotiations unless the guys are talked. The Russians with the big guys that are in charge of this globe are talked and they make profits. But it's risky for Putin. For Putin it's risky, not for these guys. These guys have the population by their balls. They do whatever they want legally. Putin, on the other hand, could end up like Gaddafi, and people in the West will say, next. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.